have to wait and see. Maybe I'm a little bit tired after Saudi Arabia. Maybe I won't go and pop in at EC or at the ECW arena, or maybe I will.
Peace world, and welcome back to another exclusive conversation on the Takedown on SI. My name is Adam Barnard. Thank you so much for joining me again today. My guest needs no introduction, but I'm going to give her one anyway. She's 2024's Miss Money in the Bank, Tiffany Stratton. How are you today?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. It's another sunny day here in Philadelphia. I can't complain. We are gearing up for Crown Jewel, which is happening this Saturday, November 2nd in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. The big women's match that's happening at that time is going to be your friend Nia Jax versus Liv Morgan for the inaugural Women's Crown Jewel champion. I know you're still kind of in Nia's corner, and I saw you had a attempted cash-in, Liv Morgan, past few weeks. Do you see yourself cashing in this match, and what's your attack plan if so?
So I can't reveal too much. Obviously, I would like for it to be a surprise, but I can say that I am going to be in Saudi Arabia, and I am going to have pretty new gear. I will be backstage. I will be cheering on Nia Jax, and that's all I'm going to say.
That's fair. I like it. I keep it a little bit mysterious. I like that.
Yes.
Now, I know that you debuted earlier this year in February on the main roster, and then very quickly you became a fan favorite. You won the Money in the Bank match in July. That's a pretty remarkable accomplishment. What does that mean for you to have so much movement and so much popularity so quickly?
Yeah, it's been so amazing since being called up. I definitely was a little nervous. I felt a lot of pressure just because I'm new. Like, I kind of got called up with like nobody. I didn't really have a group of girls I got called up with. So it was a fresh new start, and like I said, it was nerve-wracking. But as the TVs went on, as Australia happened, I kind of gained confidence, and like I was really reassured by the crowd and by the fans and stuff like that. And I definitely feel like I've grown so much in the past year. Like, I feel like I've grown more in, what is it, 8 months since I've been called up than I had in my entire 2 years being in NXT. So yeah, it's been amazing.
It's unbelievable. I remember that Australia crowd just chanting Tiffy time and how popular you were in front of that crowd and how loud they booed when Liv eliminated you. Obviously, there's some bad blood there, I would imagine, from that match. But was there a moment where you were like kind of taken aback as all of that cheering was happening? I know some performers have talked about this feeling of like, almost going into tunnel vision when you have a response like that. Did that happen to you, or were you just like, nope, I'm staying the course. Let's do it?
Yes, it definitely did happen to me. I think there's even a video of me being like, what the heck? And then I was like, okay, I'm just gonna go with it here. But there was definitely a moment too, like at the press conference before Australia. I remember Triple H had just said my name, or I think it was Bianca that had said my name. And the crowd just like started chanting Tiffy time. I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. And then, being in the match in the little cage thing and then hearing Tiffy time being chanted, like it was so like I did not expect that at all. Like, I didn't even know they were gonna know who I was. So it was really cool.
Now, I know that you've in previous interviews, you've been complimentary of Road Dogg about his support of your character work. Have you received any feedback from him since being on the main roster? And so how have you implemented that? Or has he just been, no, this is fantastic, keep doing what you're doing?
Yeah, he is a very like he he definitely is like, no, you're doing amazing. Like, don't change anything. Like, your character is developing so well. He's just kind of been cheering me on as we go, and I think he's very proud of me and where my character is at. So, yeah, he's just been cheering me on, and yeah.
It's awesome. I know in my research today before our conversation, I read that you were trained by Greg Gagne, who is, a legend in the professional wrestling world. What was the biggest lesson or the biggest piece of advice that you learned from him, and how did you implement that in your career?
He taught me a lot about wrestling etiquette and shaking people's hands, and just like he told me to always be a sponge and always listen to whoever is giving you advice and coaching you, and use it, and like, implement it if you think that it applies to you. But he always just kind of taught me to be respectful and be super coachable is like the biggest one as well. Just being coachable, and yeah, and I think that's helped a lot.
Recently, you had a a unique partnership within the past few weeks with Ria Ripley. I know that was kind of very interesting scenario for you. Is it possible that we will see this unlikely duo again in the future in any capacity?
I have no idea, but I would love for it to happen again. I think we have such a cool dynamic. It's like so completely different, and I think people love the idea as well. I see all the people's Twitter memes and stuff like that. So I think
Yeah.
I would hope that they do something with me and Ria again. I think that'd be so fun and so cool, and such a different dynamic. So we'll have to wait and see.
It was very much for me. It was like, I think my exact words were, okay, so this is Wednesday Addams meets Alicia Silverstone and Clueless. I was like, I think this is really going to work. This is going to be
Yeah,
very impressive. So
I agree. Yeah.
one of my favorite things about, your performance in the ring is the prettiest moonsault ever. It's a very athletic move. I remember being like really impressed by this. How did you end up landing with that finisher? And is there ever a moment where you're concerned about nailing it? You're concerned about making sure you hit the entire process. Like, are you ever concerned? I always ask those people, ask wrestlers this question, just because in a second you could be, in the wrong space, or you could not make the revolution over top. Tell me more about that process, how you landed with that finisher, and what the response has been for that.
So I got the idea from my boyfriend. He showed me like the BME, the bouncing. And I thought it was cool because it related to my past, or to gymnastics quite a bit,
Hmm.
because it's not just doing like a normal moonsault. You've got to bounce up the ropes and stuff like that. And I was a trampoline gymnast, so like bouncing and stuff like that, like I'm very familiar with. So um that's basically why I chose the PME. And I do get nervous sometimes, after it's been like a 20-minute match and my legs feel like they're jello. That's why sometimes you see my legs like split on the ropes when I go for it, because my
Yeah.
legs are so fatigued. I'm just throw myself over. But back in NXT, I used to hit it so much more. I haven't hit the PME in a really long time being called up. It's been like 4 months, I think. So
Wow.
the next time I hit it, I'm definitely gonna be very nervous too. It's mostly the rope jumps. Like after I
Yeah.
clear the last one, I'm fine. But it's the jumping up the ropes that's kind of
Yep.
scary. But yeah, it's definitely a scary move for sure.
Now I know, obviously speaking about NXT, we talked about, touched on it a little bit here. They just announced recently. I'm a Philly guy, so I got to mention this. They're going to be at the 2300 Arena, the ECW Arena, on November 6th, just shortly after Crown Jewel. What does it mean for you to see NXT grow in this way? Obviously, they've announced this new partnership with the CW. What does it mean for you to see the brand grow in this way? And obviously, I have to ask: is there any potential for a Tiffy time surprise at the ECW Arena?
Well, I think NXT is doing so amazing right now. They have so many, like, especially in the women's division, they have so many upcoming girls that could be potential like top girls. Like they're not just like okay and like getting by. They're really good. So I'm super happy for NXT. Like them being on the road again is amazing. And you'll have to wait and see. Maybe I'm a little bit tired after Saudi Arabia. Maybe I won't go and pop in at EC or at the ECW arena, or maybe I will. You'll have to wait and see.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. Well, you'll be welcomed in Philly here, that's for sure. Now, my last question for you here before we wrap up. I know there's been some discussion online. There's been a lot of chatter about a potential face-off and a potential program between you and Charlotte Flair when she returns. And I know that WrestleMania 41 is in the not so distant future. Could you see Charlotte Flair being your opponent at WrestleMania 41, or did you have somebody else in mind?
I definitely totally can see that. I would love for that to happen. And I hope for that to happen, whether it's this mania or the following mania. I would love for it to happen. So I guess we'll have to wait and see. I think she comes back soon. I'm not even sure where she is. So we'll have to wait and see.
Well, like I said, Crown Jewel is happening this Saturday, November 2nd from Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Start time is 1 p.m. Eastern. 10 a.m. Pacific time. Check your local listings. Tiffany Stratton, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. I look forward to seeing you in potentially in Saudi Arabia this weekend.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.